All right, so let's talk about bags real quick, because when you first get started into the survivalism prepper sort of things, there's so many different bags out there, and really it all comes down to a lot of marketing. And I think there are some good ideas. There are probably some situations where it would be beneficial, but I just want to kind of go over these to give you an idea of what they are, so I can tell you kind of what my 2 cents is on those. So you have your EDC, your everyday carry, and that's what you'd carry daily, and it's basically got things that you need to survive, every day. Those are your normal everyday needs. They have possible emergencies as one of the, by definition, things that you would put in there. But yeah, to me, if possible emergencies, there's no way to predict what the emergency is going to be. The only thing we can predict is how we react to it and what we're prepared for. So to prepare, how do you prepare for a possible emergency versus preparing for an actual emergency? What's the difference? How do you prepare for what could be a small emergency versus what could be a large catastrophic event? What's the difference to me? But anyway, it's designed to get you back to your vehicle, and then your vehicle is kind of in your vehicle is what's called your second bag, which would be your get home bag, your GHB. This is pre-stocked and it's packed with emergency supplies. So the idea behind that is to get you back home during some sort of rapid evacuation. It's smaller than a bug out bag, and for our purposes, a bug out bag is also called a good kit, a get out of Dodge kit. So if you look at this, what we've got so far is we've got our everyday carry, which is in our pockets. So let's use an example of where we're at, at work, in maybe an office setting, in a urban environment. Something happens, possibly an emergency. We've got what's in our pockets and what's being physically carried needs to get us back to our vehicle. And our vehicle is our get home bag, with our goal being to get home. So you need a different bag for that to keep stashed in your vehicle. That's got your stock, and then that gets you back home during some sort of rapid evacuation, some sort of event where you need to get home quickly. That's all this is designed to do. And of course, it's smaller than a bob, smaller than a bug out bag. So my question is this: what if the emergency that you're doing a rapid evacuation for doesn't allow you to get home? So because it's smaller, this leads me to believe that it's not as stocked as a bug out bag would be. Well, what if I have to initiate my bug out from work? So that's those things: the EDC, the get home bag, the bobs, etc., etc., etc. Discussion about bags. Anyway, yeah. So then you have your bob, your bug out bag, also known as a get out of Dodge kit, a good kit, which I don't hear this one as much as I do bob. Bob is synonymous to me with a go bag. That's another thing you might hear. But go bag is usually the term I use. That's a pack that contains enough to survive for 72 hours. The focus is on evacuation more than survival, which is kind of what the get home bag was for. It was designed to get you, home during a rapid evacuation. My guess is this is to get you, evacuated from the area to a safer location, rather than back to your location. So I guess that's the difference between the two. But either way, this would be a third bag. And focus on evacuation more than survival. If you're not coming home to where your primary shelter location is, then survival is kind of a priority. So that's another thing to think about there. And also, I highlighted it here: 72 hours. Who came up with that number? My guess is some government agency, but I don't know about you. But the last time the federal government got a hold of anything that turned out right, yeah, no, I can't think of any. So I don't particularly care for their advice. And the whole reason we plan and prepare is because the government is not going to take care of us, in my opinion. But anyway, 72 hours. Well, what happens if it goes longer than 72 hours? What do you do? If your bag is not set up, and if you didn't go in packing these bags with the thought that it could last longer than 72 hours, then what is this? You've extended your life for 72 hours in a catastrophe, and then you slowly starve to death, or die of dehydration or exposure, something to that effect. So anyway, this is just kind of the stuff that's out there that I want to kind of go over with everybody. So and then they have this newer one that kind of came around. It's just somebody coined the term inch bag, which is a I'm never coming home bag. This has everything you need to walk away from society forever. It's a heavy pack. It's more tool sensitive. It has a lot more tools, and it has longer term gear and supplies. So the difference is this is a large go bag, a large bug out bag. This one's only designed for 72 hours. This one's designed to go forever. My question is this: which one do I take? Which one should be in my vehicle, if any? Do I have to have, my everyday carry gets me from the office to my vehicle where I have my get home bag. My get home bag gets me from, in my vehicle, gets me along back to my house. And then once I get back to my house, if I have to evacuate immediately, I'm going to grab my go bag if I think it's going to be 72 hours in duration. Or if I think it's going to be longer than 72 hours in duration, I've got a fourth bag, which is my inch bag. To me, that's a lot of bags. And how do you know which one to take? And what if you got it wrong when you went to the office that day? If you took the wrong bag, or you get back here and you're doing a rapid evacuation, you grab your go bag instead of your inch bag because you want something lighter that's going to provide, for your needs for 72 hours. And then, a week into it, how you living? Are you coming back here to get your inch bag, or did you just donate those supplies, to whoever's scavenging in your subdivision when you're gone? Something to think about. So my question is, why do you have 4 different bags? And why does the prepper community talk about having 4 different bags? And I think it has a lot to do with marketing, and selling people on an idea, selling people on products, things like that. But why couldn't you just have one bag, one backpack that has all of your needs in there for 72 hours, with the ability to extend out to forever if you had to, all in one bag, so then it's less confusing. And just don't give it a name. Don't give it an acronym. Don't give it a name. It's just my go bag. So with that in mind, I want to talk to you about kind of my philosophy and my system of how we prepare gear, and it goes kind of along these lines. But anyway, here's my thinking. Regardless of what the situation is, your priorities do not change. Your survival priorities, those do not change no matter what happens. You still have your immediate, metabolic needs. You have to maintain your body heat. That's your shelter and your fire. You need water and you need calories. That's your food. That doesn't change regardless of the situation. That goes on every single day, regardless of emergency or not. And then you have your preventative needs. First aid, I need to be able to take care of any injury I have that's preventing me from getting, where I go, especially a mobility injury, or any life-threatening injury. I need to be able to navigate, which, in a possible grid down type scenario, my GPS might not work, my phone might not work. I need to be able to navigate using, it's not really primitive, but, more conventional means, battery-free means. And I may need to signal. I may need to, have some sort of signal established to where I get home from, say I come home from work, to grab the family, but the family had to leave without me. I need to have some sort of signal out so I can see that, rather than come in and look for them. It may not be safe to exit the vehicle and go rummaging around in my own house. I may have to just keep on driving on by, kind of a load signal type thing. And then of course, supplemental needs. I need tools. I need to be able to maintain those tools, and I need to be able to repair my gear, my clothing, my shelter. And then of course I need to have security the entire time. So with that in mind, if my priorities don't change, why does my bag have to change? Why can't it just be the bag, my go bag, that I use for whatever scenario? That's kind of my thinking on that. See if we can do this without getting crazy. All right, here we go. So what I like to do is kind of a layered survival system. So you've got your pocket EDC. This is what's actually being carried, and this is more of a rural kind of thing because your situation may not allow you to carry a bare minimum belt. You may have to combine, you know, the bare minimum belt with your pocket EDC. But anyway, this is the stuff that you have with you all the time. Then you'd have a backpack kit, then you'd have a vehicle kit, and a home kit. And of course, stuff that you need in the summer is different than the stuff you need in the winter, but you don't know when something's going to happen. So if it's in the middle of summer, for example, right now, if it's in the middle of the summer in coastal North Carolina and something happens and my family has to bug out from here, if I bug out to the Adirondack Mountains in New York, here in about 3 months it's going to be snowing up there. So if I don't have cold weather gear, then that plan's pretty much not a good one. So I have to have a supplemental thing like cold weather supplemental, camouflage supplemental. If it's a non-permissive environment and we need to be a little more stealthy in our movement, we may be able to, we may want to ditch, you know, our civilian clothes and go with a more, with, you know, something camouflage that'll help conceal us as we're walking along, trying to get to wherever we're trying to get to. Then of course, I can't carry everything in here, so I would establish a system of caches to get me from point A to point B. This can be water, this can be ammo, this can be food, supplies that you're going to run out of on your way to your destination. You need to supplement that and prevent it. It keeps you from having to carry it. So rather than carry, you know, a 1 week supply of food, if I think it'll take me a week to walk to the mountains, you know, which is part of my emergency plan and my pace plan, I may need to establish 2 caches, you know, 3 days apart. So I only have to carry 3 days worth of gear, and I get from point A to the first cache in 3 days. Then I break up the trip again, and I get from cache 1 to cache 2 in 3 days. And then I get from cache 2 to point B, which is my final destination, in another 3 days. So it lightens the load on my back, allows me to move quicker, and it just makes a lot more sense. So establishing a network of caches is a great idea, and something that, you know, the military has used during, you know, unconventional warfare type scenarios for a long time. So if something happens and I'm at home, I have my home kit, and this is why it's a layered system and why I do it this way. While I'm home, if I need, you know, fire, shelter, water, food, you know, if I need to provide for my priorities, I'm using the stuff that's in the home. I don't have to carry this. This can be big, bulky things. This can be your stoves with large fuel cylinders. This can be your wood stove, you know, with, you know, 10 cords of firewood stacked outside. It's a home kit that provides for your needs. This is a bug-in type scenario. For some reason I have to blow out of here, and I've got access to my vehicle and I can use it. I can use everything in my vehicle kit, which is a larger kit, smaller than a home kit obviously, but it's larger than my backpack kit. I'm going to keep using the stuff in this vehicle for as long as I have access to that vehicle, if that makes sense. So if for some reason I have to ditch the vehicle, or the vehicle is not an option, then I've got my backpack kit and I'm on foot. If for some reason at one point I had the vehicle and I was able to use this and I was using stuff out of this kit, if I have to ditch that vehicle and now I'm running with just my backpack kit, I've not touched anything in this backpack kit yet. It's a complete kit because I've been using, you know, the kits as I've been using the larger kits for all my priorities, so that in the event that my situation changes to where I've got less gear, then I've got a full pack to start with. And kind of the same concept here. Use my backpack kit to provide for all my needs. If for some reason I get separated from my backpack, if I get robbed, if I have to ditch it so I can gain more speed to get away from something, I've still got my bare minimum belt to use, and I haven't used anything out of this because I'm using everything out of my backpack kit. Then if I get down to just my bare minimum belt, I've got a full, you know, kit to start with to take care of my needs. It's not as ideal as this, but I'm not going to die because I don't have my needs, my priorities provided for. And then, you know, for some reason you get separated or that runs out, you've still got well, I mean, you could get robbed, You know, maybe they just rob you and take your belt, but you still have some stuff loaded in your pockets that'll affect your survival. So that's when you're down to the pocket EDC. If at any time, you know, I lose access to any of these, as long as I'm still alive, I can still continue to move and hit my cache A's and provide for my needs that way. So that's kind of the system that I use and the approach that I use whenever I'm setting up, you know, my packing lists. And it was important to get through this so that we can get into, you know, my packing list from here on out. But anyway, if you have any questions, just comment below, and I'd be happy to answer them. And yeah, thanks for watching. See you guys next week.